What's up, everybody? Cheyne Inman here, local real estate agent in Southern California, helping families move here from all over the world. And this week we're going to be checking out the pros and cons of moving to Torrance, California. So if you're thinking of moving to Torrance or anywhere in the Southern California area, I'd love to help you get started in your search. So feel free to call or text or email me and we can get started on finding your home. All right, so Torrance, California, where is it? Well, Torrance is north of Long Beach, south of LAX. It's pretty far west where if you're in the West Torrance neighborhoods, you're actually about a mile to the beach. So it's a pretty big city where you can be close to the freeways and close to getting out of town if you need to commute for work, but you can also be pretty close to spending the day at the beach and hanging out. And so that's what we're going to look at today is Torrance and what it's like to live here and the pros and cons. All right, and so the first pro of living down here is the beach life. And so I moved to Southern California from Northern California, grew up in Northern California thinking I never wanted to move down to Southern California just because I'd heard, traffic and it was just busy and it wasn't what I was looking for. But one thing about Northern California is when you go to the beach, you're wearing a sweatshirt and you're not going in the water. It's too cold for most beaches. Whereas in Southern California, there's a lot of beaches where all year long you've got a nice day that you can spend the day out on the beach. And so I think that's a huge advantage for living down here. When I first moved down here, it was in January of the year. And that year it was, cold and rainy in Northern California where I was. And when I moved down, there were some cold, rainy days here and there. But then in January, there was also a day where I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I'd moved down, and there was like an 80-degree day, and I spent the day out on the beach. And it was like, how can you go from, a day in the rain one day to a nice warm 80-degree day and be able to spend it on the beach? And so that's one of the big benefits, I think, with living in Torrance is you're about a mile bike ride or drive or run to the beach, and so you can spend the day on the beach kind of all year long. And so if that's something that you like, that lifestyle, then Torrance could be a good option for you. All right, and the next pro, it kind of goes along with that beach lifestyle, and that's just the outdoor activity options for living in Torrance. So as I mentioned, you're about a mile to the beach. You also have hiking trails nearby and PV. You can spend the day out on the beach and go surfing or just hang out, play volleyball. You've got a lot of different options on the beach, and then you also have options for getting out on the trails, going for hikes. Torrance also has over 40 parks. We had our daughter's birthday party at one of the Torrance parks here, so you can rent the park for the day and pay a fee, and it's nice to have an outdoor gathering at a park where there's playgrounds and different things. And there's lots of different styles of parks. You got parks that are huge and have huge soccer complexes. You've got some that are lots of baseball fields. You've got some smaller parks that just have a grass area and playgrounds. So a lot of different options for being outdoors, whether it's just a day at the park, going to the day at the beach, or getting out on the trails, going for a hike or a run. There's definitely that outdoor lifestyle that you get in Torrance and throughout the South Bay. And the next pro for moving to Torrance is the variety of styles of living. So, whether you're looking to buy or rent, I'd love to help you get started with that search. I have people move here that, they're not sure on the area and they decide to rent for a year or so to try to figure out which neighborhoods they like. So that's an option. Or, so there's single family residences you can rent, there's condos, there's townhomes, there's apartments, then there's purchasing options of condos and townhomes and single family residences. So whatever it is in your search, the style of home could be probably here in whatever style you're looking for. So if you're specific and you really need a new, modern, updated large home, it might be coming at a higher price tag. But if you just are looking for a house and you're pretty open to buying or renting in a variety of different styles, you can probably find it here. All right, and the next pro for moving to Torrance is the weather. And that's, kind of Southern California in general, but you do get kind of the beach marine layers of temperatures here. So you don't get those super hot days, and you also don't get super cold days. For instance, in the summertime, maybe there's a couple weeks out of the year where you're actually needing air conditioning. So a lot of the homes, if they're older, have not been updated, and they probably do not have air conditioning unless they're, unless it's been installed recently, just because you get that breeze coming through. So yeah, if you're looking for just kind of a constant temperature all year long, and you're not really worried about needing to be in super hot weather or super cold weather, then the South Bay is a great option, because you do get those, coast breezes coming in, and you also do have some little bit foggy days, and maybe it does get a little windy certain days, but throughout the year it's pretty constant. So you're probably not going to need a variety of different clothes. For the most part, most of my winter gear that I had up in Northern California doesn't really get used, kind of gets boxed away and only used on vacations. So if you like that constant temperature and not a big change, then South Bay could be a good option. All right, and the next pro for moving to Torrance is the school district. So, do your research on what is important in the school, and there's a lot of different sites out there that will give you different ratings on schools. But I coach cross country and track at West Torrance High School, and I get families that move here, and they say a big part of why they moved here is the school district. And so within the school district, you've got all the feeder schools that lead up to those high schools, and 4 different high schools: West Torrance High School, South High School, Torrance High School, and North High School. So all of those are options. You also have the private school, Bishop Montgomery, right down the street. And then like I said, the streets and the communities are pretty close to PV and Redondo Beach. So a lot of different options for schools and where you move. And so if the schools are something you're looking for, the South Bay has a lot of options. And the next pro for moving to Torrance is just the community and neighborhoods. So, in downtown, you got the old downtown section of Torrance that has that kind of historic vibe and feel to it with some of the old shops. You got Torrance Bakery and Fox Drug Store that are kind of that history kind of feel to the town. Then just throughout Torrance in general, you've got a lot of little pockets and little neighborhoods that kind of get pulled away. So like up in South Torrance, like the South High School area, which is the Hollywood Riviera, you got a lot of homes that are kind of tucked away, and you see, the child at play kind of signs on the streets, and people out walking about and walking their dogs. And so you get a nice little pockets of neighborhoods, and then you've got just the overall big community options with different things going on at the community pool, and the different classes you can take at the community center. So as a town in general, there are a lot of options and neighborhoods that you can kind of find your place. All right, and the next pro for moving to Torrance is just the views. So, some of the homes here, you get kind of up on the hillside. So especially in the Hollywood Riviera sections of Torrance, you get these homes that are built up high, and you either get a view of the city or you get a view of the ocean. And so if a view is something key in your search, there's definitely some options for homes with views of the ocean or the city in Torrance. And so if you are somebody that really wants that in your criteria, just expect that will increase the property value or the cost of the home. So it's good to figure that out ahead of time. And the last pro for moving to Torrance is just the shops. It's a big town, but you've got Nike outlets, you got different shops and little stores, you've got little restaurants and all kinds of different options for eating and going out. You've also got Costco. I always get that question asked when I'm hosting an open house: where's the closest Costco? So if Costco is something that's important in your search, there is a Costco nearby. And so just figuring out what's important to you is important for finding the right home in the right area. But at least in Torrance, you do have a lot of different options for shops and stores and restaurants in the area. All right, and so with all those great pros for moving to Torrance, what's the downside? Well, I'd say the biggest downside for moving to Torrance is the cost. It is expensive. The closer you get to the beach, the more expensive it gets. And so maybe you can afford, maybe it's not, oh, I don't have enough money to live in that area. Maybe it's just adjusting your expectations of what you actually get for that. So you might say, oh, I can afford a home for $1.5 million, or I can afford a home for $1 million, or I can afford a home for $500,000. But what does that really get you? And so in Torrance, you might be looking at a home that, if it's a single family residence, it might have been built in the 60s and maybe has a smaller square footage and a kind of a smaller floor plan to it, and maybe it's not as updated as you would like. Or maybe you're looking at a condo because your budget's maybe 500 or 600,000, and about the number of bedrooms and square footage within that budget is going to get you maybe a townhome or a condo. So I think part of the cost of living here is being close to the beach. People are paying to be closer to the beach, but it's just getting more and more competitive in Southern California to live anywhere. And so definitely do your research on what you get for the home and the price that you want. And that's kind of the first step in figuring out what's important, is what actually exists in your budget. So feel free to message me if you're just like to get a list of homes currently on the market and different price ranges and see what is out there and what's a good option. And the next con for moving to Torrance is something that's kind of indicative to all of Southern California, and that's traffic. As I mentioned, I grew up in Northern California, and all I really heard about Southern California is just how bad the traffic is. And it's terrible. I mean, if you're having to get on the 405 to commute, you're going to be sitting for a while, and kind of any time of the day you're going to be hitting traffic. So keep that in mind depending on where you need to be for work. But if you're somebody that works in Torrance, where there's a lot of different businesses and job opportunities within Torrance. So if you're not needing to get on the freeway for work, then you can just hang out in Torrance and spend your weekends on the beach and go bike riding and go out on the trails and enjoy the town and the community. But if you're somebody that needs to get on the freeway for work or different events and things, just keep in mind, it's gonna be a commute. And then there's different areas of Torrance. So if you're more on the West Torrance area, you're going to be closer to the beach, and it might take you 15 minutes just to get to the freeway with all the stoplights and different things. Whereas if you're more in like North Torrance, you might be living closer to the freeways and have quicker access. So figuring out what's important for your commute or lack of commute is going to probably also change where you want to live within Torrance. All right, and the next con for moving to Torrance is the type of pests that we have here. So, it's not like in some areas where you got big horse flies, or mosquitoes are super bad, or maybe you've got a lot of snakes and different kinds of things. Here, I'd say the things that I see the most within Torrance are like ants, or we have black widow spiders, so you just got to be careful when you're moving things that have been sitting in a corner or something for a long time. You don't see a lot of them, but if you haven't had something being moved in a garage or something for a long time, it's definitely something to think about. And then a big one that I think is a little bit more focused on Southern California and the South Bay being close to the beach is termites. And it's just something to be proactive about and make sure that you're getting treatment done on the home throughout the year. And if you're buying a home, I always recommend to get a termite inspection done. It's usually around $90 to $100, and they go through and they tell you all the damage that has already been done, if there has been any done, which oftentimes is the case, and if it tells you if there's an active infestation, or if it's just been in the past and you're fine. So obviously termites can just eat away the walls in the home, and so you want to be aware of those things, but it's not something to be scared of. It's more just upkeep and making sure that you're getting it treated every year or so. Like I drive around town and I see tents covering houses like the circuses in town pretty often. So that is something that is normal here that may not be normal in other areas of the country. And the last con for moving to Torrance is kind of what I had already spoke about with the cost of living here, and that is the style of homes, or the updatedness to homes. So a lot of the homes here are going to be older. If they haven't been updated in a while, you're still paying a hefty price tag for a home that is maybe in the same condition that would be half the price in another area of the country. So it's definitely important to get an idea of what style of homes are here, and if you're okay with a home that was built in the 60s and hasn't had any updates since then, or has had minimal updates since then. And so oftentimes we'll get a homeowner into contract, and when they're going through the inspection period and they get their inspection done, they have this long list on the inspection report of all these things, because it's a home that's been, it's older and it's going to have its issues. So you want to know what are the important issues and what are the things that are a little bit more common. And so that's why it's great to do the inspection, and it's really important to know what's going on with the house ahead of time. So those are some of the pros and cons for moving to Torrance. I hope that gives you a little bit better idea of what it's like to live here. And if you're thinking of moving anywhere in Torrance or any of the surrounding communities of the South Bay, I'd love to help you start with that search. So feel free to call or text or email me. I have people reaching out all the time, and it's always great to hear from somebody and see if I can help.